Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you got to ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to Thursday night after hours. Ask Chuck Bowser RCDD live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. And if I could figure out how to do it on Instagram, I would do it there too. I just don't know how to do it on Instagram. Instagram is growing. I'm at like 347 followers there. I'm at 1236 on TikTok, 4,000 on LinkedIn. So we're making some progress. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody's staying warm. I know you probably think, Chuck, you're in Central Florida, you're warm. It's supposed to get to the 20s this weekend. The 20s. Yeah, you heard me right. Not just overnight, all day Saturday. It's supposed to be in the 20s. All day Saturday. So that kind of has me a little bit worried. Oh, I got to turn on the comments to see people talking in here as well. Oh, the chat, not the comments. There we go. So if you have some questions that you want to answer, right, make sure that you put it in the comment section and put it in the comment section on TikTok as well. So if you see me glance up there, I'm talking to the TikTok folks. If you see me over here, I'm talking to everybody else. I'm trying to figure out how to do this all in one shot. I'm still learning all this stuff. Getting excited. Going to the Bixie conference next week. Yes. Nolan is in the house from the Florida-Georgia border. Nolan, Saturday, it's supposed to be in the 20s here. So I hope you packed warm clothing. We are worried about our steer. That's super cold. So I'm not sure if we got to do something special with him. And also the baby goats. We got brand new spanking baby goats that are only 2 weeks old. Yeah, did a cute video of them last week. Go check it out on the Bowser Journal YouTube page. And so Fernando is in the house. There's Mr. Nolan. Mr. Nolan's coming down to the Bixie conference next week. So make sure you and I say hi to each other when you get there. And then Fernando says it's negative 25 in Ottawa. That's Canada, I believe, isn't it? Yikes. That is cold weather. That is cold weather. So I'm super excited about Bixie next week. I'll be there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. On Thursday, it's only a half a day thing. I don't know if there will be a live stream next Thursday night, right? Next Thursday night, because by the time I get home, I don't know if I'll be home in time for the live stream. So I'm going to have to play that by ear a little bit. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to figure that out. So as we always do, what are you drinking? That's the first thing we always ask. What are you drinking? I am drinking. So see, look, I'm drinking. See if I can do this without spilling it. Say, yep. Harvest Grain Apple Tea. Getting ready for the cold weather. Put in the chat box what you're drinking tonight. What are you drinking? It is after our show, so you can drink adult beverages if you so desire. Yeah. Now, for my TikTok people who don't know, we're just joining in. This is my live stream every Thursday night. So if you have questions about voice cabling, data cabling, installation, certification, estimation, project management, career advice certification, that's what we're here for tonight. I do have some questions that were submitted ahead of time. So we'll do those here first. And look, Mr. Brian is in the house. Greetings from Hot Springs, Colorado. Is that right? Did I guess the state right? I've heard of Hot Springs, but I don't know. Arkansas. Is it Arkansas or Colorado? Hot Springs sounds cool though. Yep. So now, so we did the what are you drinking tonight? No, thank you. Yes. Yeah, I just finished. I finally got done with everything. So if you watch the videos over the last couple weeks, you've kind of seen it morphing, right? But first I moved into here, and then I started putting up the brick walls, and then I got the sign, and then it took me a couple of days to get the sign in because I had to fish behind the wall and stuff like that. So it's now up and running. I just got to fix my LED lights a little bit better. But yes, I'm happy with it too. So Cold Springs is in Arkansas. Arkansas. Beautiful area of the country. Beautiful area of the country. Okay, so we did the what are you drinking thing tonight. So you know what the next one's got to be, right? Any of my show regulars will know this. The acronym challenge. The acronym challenge. If you follow me on any one of my platforms, you know that I do the acronym challenge every weekday morning at 8:10. See you four fried fingers. Every weekday morning at 8:10, I put out an acronym, and then on Saturdays I put out the answers. So here is today's acronym challenge. If you think you know what this means, put the answer in the chat box. I got 10,000 points for the first correct answer. 10,000 points for the first correct answer. Now, before we talk about the answer, we also got to say, the usual announcement for acronyms. Help control the acronym population. Spay or neuter your acronyms. We have enough of them. We don't need any more. Spay or neuter your acronyms. So for the people on TikTok who can't really see it, the acronym is PBB. PBB. Now, you know me, I like to do it in themes. Oh, look who's in the house. I'll announce you in just 1 second, everybody. I go by themes, right? I go by themes. And this week we're doing chapter 8 out of the TDMM. And chapter 8 is the bonding and grounding one. So the acronym for today, PBB, stands for Primary Bonding Bus Bar. And look who is in the house, Jonathan Jew. I would expect him to know that because he's on all the committees and he's chair of many of the committees. So 10,000 points to you for Jonathan Jew for getting the correct answer. Forrest, you get 10,000 points for knowing that it used to be the TMGB, the Telecom Main Grounding Bus Bar. Fiber Flipper is in the house, by the way. Hello, Fiber Flipper. You know, our industry loves acronyms. Absolutely loves acronyms. The only thing that it loves more than acronyms is it loves changing acronyms. Changing acronyms. Yeah, our industry just loves acronyms. It's like learning a whole brand spanking new language when you get in this industry, right? And Nolan, always the funny guy. Oh, hit the wrong one. There's Nolan. Uh, Peanut butter bar. There you go. There you go. So the primary rounding bus bar, 1/4 inch thick by 4 inches tall by however wide it needs to be, isolated from its mouth, electrotin plated. You're going to scratch it and use antioxidant for reduced contact resistance. Usually located in the entrance facility or near the entrance facility because you've got the outside plant cable coming in there. It's got to be bonded to that. So it is the main cross connect of the telecom bonding grounding infrastructure. Okay, that's the PBB. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and just get rocking and rolling with the questions. Dun, 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 dun. What was the first one? Here we go. So here's the first question I received. This one came from Ken on TikTok. Ken from TikTok. And Ken wants to know if we are installing plywood in a TR that is fire rated, do we have to paint it with fire rated paint? This is one of those subjects that gets asked quite often. And the true answer is really going to depend on what does your local AHJ want, your local authority having jurisdiction, because they're going to have the ultimate say on it anyway. But when you look it up in the ITSA manual, oh, I forgot to mention this. Hey, 8th edition ITSA manual is out. Yes. And if you want a free copy of this, I'm giving away one free copy. If you want a copy of this, you've got to follow my channel, share a video, and say a comment. And then what I'll do is next Thursday, after I finish with Bixie, I will announce who is the winner. And I'm paying to ship it. You don't have to pay to ship it. Lots of great information inside that book, right? So when you actually go and look at the ITSA manual, it says that the Bixie does recommend 2 coats of fire-rated paint, I'm sorry. But they do say that if it's fire-rated plywood, they don't recommend the paint because then it's going to crack, it's going to peel, and it's going to deteriorate. But you are going to have some authority having jurisdictions that do require you to have both. So keep that in mind. The HJ has the final say in the manner. If they do require paint, make sure you want to find out from the HJ if they want that stamp to be visible. You want that stamp to be visible. So that was actually a good one. And I didn't realize that until I read the 8th edition. It's a manual that they recommended it, but they don't recommend that you paint it if it's already fire rated plywood. So very cool. Very, very cool. Next question is, and this one is from Charles on Instagram. Charles on Instagram. So Charles asks, what type of screws do racks use? Now, I got to imagine that Mr. Charles, Mr. Steve Kyle is in the house. Hello, Steve. Good to have you here, buddy. I've got to imagine the reason he's asking that question is because he has lost the screws that came with his patch panel, right? That's probably why he's asking that question. So what kind of screws do they have? So there's a couple of different ones that you may come across. There's 1224s, there's 1032s, there's M5s and M6s. It just kind of really all depends. I would suggest that you have a little bit of all of them. And a good technician, what they'll do is, as they put in patch panels, if they have extras after the install, they'll put them in the bag and save them for later because they know that they're going to lose screws. So that's always a good bit of advice. If you want more information on the screws, you can look them up in the CEA 310 standard, right? Maybe Jonathan Jew has some input about that as well. Like I said, I trust him because he's on all those standards. He's a smart dude. Yes, that's why I mentioned. So somebody on TikTok says, don't forget about the 4-post racks. They use different screws as well. So yeah, it's generally one of those 4, whether it's a 2-post or a 4-post rack. It's generally one of those 4s. And sometimes, yes, exactly right. Some of them use cage nuts. And also I noticed that, I've always told people, when people always ask me about the star washers. So in the It's a Manual, the new one, because I verified it today, they do recommend that you use a star wash and you put it between the patch panel and the rack, and the rack. So cool stuff going on. So Jonathan, you going to be at Bixie this next week? I know Steve is. I know I am. I know a bunch of other people are going to be there as well. So let's see. What's the next question that came in? Dun, dun, dun. Let me see. That was the screw one. The next one is, I get this question a ton. And here's why I want some help from you guys. If you're in the chat box, whether it's TikTok or if you're in the chat here, right? Oh, that's a good one. You know what? Before I answer that one, I want to answer this one. So Michael from LinkedIn, who's watching today, says, is there a code or standard against painting of category rated cables? And are they negative effects on painting cable? I would assume the paint layer changes the way the electronic properties. I don't think it changes the electrons and how they flow down the cable. And I'll tell you why. Because you think of the cable, you got the outside jacket, and then you got the pairs inside of it. The pairs of one of the conductors, you get the conductor and then the dielectric that surrounds that. The electron travels on the outside of the copper underneath of the dielectric. So I don't think painting of the cables would affect the electron. I'm not 100% positive, but I wouldn't think it would. But I will tell you this, right? It is a code violation if your cable gets painted in the ceiling. Now, whether or not an inspector really nails you on it's a different story or not. And here's why it's a violation. So, and I think I talked about this recently on one of the other ones. So I happen to have a piece of cable sitting on my desk because I was teaching a class today. So there's this thing called listed cables and unlisted cables, right? So a listed cable can be installed inside the building. Unlisted cannot. So when a cable is listed, it means that manufacturer sent that cable to a NRTL, nationally recognized testing laboratory, and they had it tested to see if it meets flame and smoke propagation standards set by the NFPA. So they're going to burn it, and they're going to measure how fast the flame burns and how much smoke it puts off. Examples of NRTLs are Intertech, UL, and a bunch of others. It could be any one of those. Now, So what happens when they paint the cable, when the cable was tested, they didn't test it with paint on it. So we don't know how that paint affects the flame and smoke propagations. So it is a code violation. Now, if it's just a little bit of overspray, like, the cables happen to be real close to the ceiling grid and they've got a little bit of overspray on them, most inspectors aren't going to really care about a little bit of overspray. But if you have like an entire run painted, they are going to care about that. And a lot of manufacturers will not give you a warranty if that cable is painted. Okay, so try not to let your cables get painted at all. If the customer wants a certain color cable in the ceiling, don't let them paint your cables. Buy that cable with that color jacket. You may have to order, you may have to special order, you may have to do minimum order quantities to get it, whatever. Do not allow your cable to get painted. Okay. So Jonathan Jew put in a comment there. Let's see if we can see this. And remember, he sits on the standard, so he's pretty smart there. So the TR42 meetings are this week. The approved publication for the 568.5 single bounce twisted pair cabling. TIA TR42.1 approved publication. The 568.0 E1 addendum, and single pair for the building statement. You have so much there, it won't do the whole entire thing, Jonathan. I will put that in there somewhere. I'll just read it off, so I just can't have it on it. The addendum, the revision to the intelligent building standards, the TIA 942 B1 Edge data centers, TIA 4966 revision to the educational premise cabling standard, and he will be doing Bixie next week virtually. Oh man, I don't get to see you next week. I don't get to see you next week. Darn it. So he says moisture does affect the performance of balanced specific cables. Don't you know about paint? Yeah, moisture absolutely will. Moisture absolutely will affect how a cable performs, because as that signal, as I mentioned, the electrons going down the cable, right? It's finding the path of least resistance. If a cable gets submerged in water or pulling lubricant, it's attracted to that water. It's a path of least resistance. So then you get attenuation or insertion loss. So yeah, absolutely. Going back to my original question, sorry, I had my ADHD kicked in there for a minute. So we talked about rack screws. So here's where I want your help, because I get asked this question a lot, right? I am not a representative of Bixie, but I get asked this question quite a bit, right? So the question says, can you please advise me on where to start for my RCDD and how to get a high score? Okay. So here's where I want your help. For those people in my room who actually have an RCDD, right? Let me fix my laptop because it's actually in the camera shot there a little bit. For those of you who do have your RCDDs, in the comment box, tell us, what did you do to help you pass that test? What did you do to help pass that test? So here's my suggestions for Fossil. Fossil sent me this message via LinkedIn. So first off, you got to apply for it. So if you go to the Bixie webpage, you will find it, that whole process. As a matter of fact, I even made a bit.ly link. If you go to bit.ly/capital RCDD, lowercase instructions, it'll take you right straight to that page, right? And then there's also another one too, bit.ly/RCDD handbook. It'll take you right to the handbook, which talks about the whole RCDD process. That's the first thing you're going to have to do. Go there. The second piece of advice I have for you is immerse yourself in that venture, right? Read every night. You set goals and read every single night and study. Most people learn by multiple ways of input. So if you read it and you speak it, you write it down, you have people talk to you about it, there's all ways that you can absorb that information, right? By the way, Bixie also has a YouTube video on the RCDD credentialing process. It's also on their webpage as well. So follow that and then you'll get it. So immersion, that's the first thing I want to tell you. Read through it, highlight it, take notes, buy index cards, write on the index cards, all that fun stuff. And depending on your experience, you may want to take one of the prerequisite courses, right? DD101, DD102. Those will certainly help you. If you don't want to create your own flashcards, Bixie also sells flashcards. You can buy them as well. Now, one thing to read them, but another thing you could do is give it to somebody and then have them quiz you, like at lunch break. Or what I used to do is I used to have them quiz me while I was driving. I had a partner that used to work with me. I was driving and he was on the side. I'd give him my card and say, read these questions to me. And I'd be reading and I'd answer those questions. I mean, total immersion Total immersion is how you're going to do that, right? And then my last suggestion is attend an RCDD test prep course, because it's not just enough to know the information. You have to get your brain into thinking about how to take tests again. Especially if you haven't taken tests in a while. Like, it was 20 years out of high school when I took mine. You got to get your brain wired back up to thinking about how to read, interpret, and answer the tests. Right. With that being said, there are some, you can create your own tests, right? Go to easytestmaker.com, make your own test, right? And then you can answer it, and you can have it do, come back to you and make the questions come up in different orders, make the answers come up in different orders. There's companies out there like NetCBT and a couple others that have pre-made RCD practice exams. Now, they're not going to be exactly like the exam questions you're going to find on the RCDD test, but it gets you into thinking about test questions, right? So a TikTok user says, I bought business cards and printed them as flashcards. Oh, that's smart. That is smart, right? When taking the test, do you know, first I'll trigger the memory back to go back a second when I don't. Oh, that's actually a great point. So what he was saying is, and this happened to me, as you're going through the test, if you don't know a question, just leave it blank, because you can always go back to it before your time is up. And because you might find out that when you read a question further down the pike, it might trigger that memory and make you remember. So exactly just like the TikTok person said, right? Let's see if they have any suggestions in the chat box for taking this thing. Yeah, buy the TDMM. Buy the TDMM. And then not just buy it, also read it. Read it, right? Read it and acknowledge it. I am doing a TDMM study group. It's going to start back up in probably 2 or 3 weeks. I'm still trying to figure out the details on it yet. So if you are thinking about taking your RCDD test, or you want to read the TDMM to become more familiar with it, right? Stay in contact with me. Touch base with me, because when I shoot that off, I will put it in. Steve has a great suggestion. Mr. Steve, thank you for pointing that out. Read everything in the manuals, highlight everything. I thought it might show up in the exam. Reread the manual, wrote down everything. I highlighted and made additional notes on anything I saw that could be on the exam. Read through all of the, oops, darn, dang it. This thing is just acting weird tonight. There we go. Read through all the notes, take a test prep course, and highlight what the instructor said was crucial. Studied all the notes, additional highlight items from the class every night leading up to the exam. All great advice, Steve. All great advice. And also, I would suggest the night before the exam that you don't study. You let your brain just kind of rest, right? That way it's totally there. So Fernando says he wants to take his RCD test in June. Very cool. So that's my suggestions for taking the RCDD test. And like I said, I found that taking my test is really, really helped launch my career. My career went along faster. I saw a post today on Facebook. Somebody's asking for some advice in the communications industry, and somebody actually responded, "Don't bother with certifications. Don't bother with certifications." I'm like, what? Sometimes it just amazes people. Just amaze me sometimes. I will let you know, Nolan. Hello, Teresa. Did you get your stickers? I shot you an email the other day. I hadn't gotten any confirmation back that you got those stickers yet. So let me know if you haven't. So why did the new ITSM come out just a couple months after I bought the 7th edition? Can I trade it in? No, you can't trade it in, unfortunately. There is a certain time frame. I want to say it's 30 days. Check with Bixie. There's a certain time frame that if you buy the edition and the new one comes out within 30 days, that they will give you the new one. So check that out. And if you do think about buying any manual from Bixie, my recommendation is to buy both the digital copy and the printed copy. The digital copy and the printed copy. So that it's a manual that I'm giving away next week. The 8th edition, the new one just came out. I bought the combo. I got the digital copy and the printed copy. And the difference between buying, if you buy just one, it's $260. If you buy both, it's like $290. It's like, or $280. It's like $40 difference. So for an extra $40, I got 2 copies. So I'm keeping the electronic one. I'm giving the print one away to some lucky user who follows my one of my social media channels, comments, and shares a video. Right. So there you go. All right, let's see. Any other suggestions? Let's see what he's got here. So I saw a situation where armored fiber cable was not bonded on either end. Is that an allowable installation, or must armored conductive fiber be bonded to ground always? Oh, that's such a great question. Um, so if you actually read the code book about armored fiber, it says it's got to be installed per the manufacturer's instructions. So you got to go to the manufacturer. All the manufacturers that I've read instructions about armored fiber, they say it's got to be bonded to a ground on both sides. Mohammed's in the house. Hello, Mohammed. Um, they've got to be bonded on both sides. Now, a lot of people say, why am I bonding this armored fiber on both sides, right? And the reason is, if you've got an armored fiber run that runs 500-600 feet, right? It goes in one building and then goes, goes to another building through protected runway, so it's not have to be outside plant. You don't know on which side of that fiber that an electrical current is going to get superimposed on it. So that's why both ends have to be bonded to ground. I'm not aware of any armored fiber manufacturers that don't require to be bonded on end on both sides. So Todd says, how do I sign up for that ITSM? So you got a couple of different ways. If you're on TikTok, follow me on TikTok, share the video and comment. If you're not on TikTok, you can do it on Instagram or Facebook. Any one of my social medias, just sign up and you sign up for it or become a follower and move forward. So, another good question here. You guys are hitting me some good questions tonight, right? So, what is the difference between zone cabling and a consolidation point? So, a consolidation point is zone cabling. Zone cabling comes in two different types. You have MUTOAs and consolidation points. A MUTOA is a multi-user telecommunications outlet assembly. That can be a faceplate. That could even be a patch panel. So what you're going to do is you would run a cable from that horizontal cross connect in the telecom room. I'm going to do the MUTOA one first. You run a cable from that horizontal cross connect in the telecom room to the MUTOA. So again, the MUTOA could be, like I said, a faceplate with a lot of connectors on it, or it could even be a 12, 24 port panel mounted on permanent building structure, right? Permanent building structure does not include modular furniture, unless that first piece is bolted to the wall, and then it is permanent building structure. Now, a consolidation point is another way to do zone cabling. So the difference is a consolidation point, you're going to run a cable from the horizontal cross connect to a consolidation point somewhere in the ceiling, usually near where the final drop is going to be. And it's in a consolidation point, it has to be an interconnection, not a cross connection. Okay. It has to be an interconnection, not a cross connection. So you can't do two patch panels with a patch cord. One of the better ways to do it is to take a 110 block, land them on the 110 block, put your C4 clip on, and then run that cable from the top of that C4 down the wall, and then terminate that on the jack. Consolidation points are not end user interfaces. They are not end user interfaces. Okay. You don't want the end user getting inside of that. The MUTOA is designed to be an end user interface. Does that answer your question, Mohammed? Alrighty. So let me see, what time is it? We at 6:28. We got 2 minutes, and I do have one more question that was submitted ahead of time. And this question came from Dan via email. And Dan wants to know, what is the difference between a mechanical and non-mechanical fire stop system? What is the difference? The majority of the time we install non-mechanical fire stop systems. That's going to include putty, caulk, cementitious materials, silicone foams, bricks. Those are all non-mechanical types of fire stop systems. They're pliable, right? And they form around the cable. A mechanical fire stop system is an elastomeric type of system where it's almost like plastic, and it's designed to fit standard cables, standard tubes and stuff like that. And there's one I had in my Bixie lab when I used to be an instructor. It was a rectangle shaped frame, and it had multiple rows. You had to unscrew the frame to remove the tension, and that's another thing that makes it mechanical. You pull out your tab. If it wasn't big enough for your thing, you could actually peel off some of the layers so your cable would fit in it. You put it back together, and then you would have to tighten it back down to compress it all together. So mechanical, that's what a mechanical is versus a non-mechanical. So there you go. All righty, let me see if we have any other questions real quick. I've been told the longer you think about the questions, the more you are to talk yourself out of it. Yeah, that's a fact. Talking about the RCD, go with your first response, what you think it is. That's usually the first one. So, all righty, we are at 6:30. That's the end of this live stream. If you have any other questions, go ahead and email them to me. Send them via messages on any of my platforms: LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and I will capture them. And again, I'm not sure if we're going to do a live stream next week because I will be at Bixie. Now, I did reach out to Bixie to see if I can broadcast live. Why is it still showing up? I did reach out to Bixie to see if I could do it live there. They haven't responded back yet. So once I know that, I'll make the announcements if I can on all my social media platforms. All righty. So, all righty, everybody. I appreciate you being here today and being a member, especially you, Mr. Steve. Can't wait to see you next week. Mohammed, great questions. I will answer that on the next live stream because I'm out of time this time. Okay. Till next time, everybody. Remember, knowledge is power.